Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to the second day of Center Court devoted to specialty master's programs. We've had two great panels so far. Matt Simons was a host of them. Now, me being in California, and they don't want to wake me up super early. So now I get the bottom part of it, which is the best part, because we're going to end the second day of our event. And we have a terrific panel for you right now. Four great schools with many different kinds of programs. We'll get into the variety of them, and then we'll probably do a deep dive on one or two at each of the schools. I think you're going to find it to be incredibly informative and helpful. And the goal here is to allow you to make a more informed decision about what program to pursue, where to go, where the fit is best, and what you're ultimately going to get out of it. So let me introduce our panelists. We have Meredith Richardson, who is an admissions manager at Case Western Reserve University. She's at the Weatherhead School of Management, one I know very well. Weatherhead has one of the coolest, no, not one of, the coolest buildings ever for a business school. Really wild and wacky design, really stand out and distinctive in every possible way. You just got to look it up. Just Google it online, Weatherhead School of Management, and you'll see this building and it will blow your mind. Am I right, Meredith?
Absolutely. Definitely worth looking at.
Right. We have Jennifer Larson from the University of Illinois, Gies College of Business. Jennifer is Director of Recruiting and Admissions. And Gies, as you probably know, has probably the most disruptive online MBA program in the world. Huge explosive growth. Frankly, it's the fastest growing MBA on the planet. That's what I've said before. I'll say it again. And obviously, the school has a fairly good portfolio of specialty master's programs. Two of them are online, the rest are on campus. The two that are online are the Masters in Accounting and the Masters in Management, which is relatively new, in fact, but already has a really good cohort going in the first cohort. And then, of course, there is a new analytics degree, which, as everyone knows, is a super hot explosive growth in that area, a master's in finance and a master's in technology. And then from MIT Sloan, we have Katie Riddle. Hi, Katie, how are you? I love your background.
Thank you. Doing well. Wishing I was here.
And Katie is Associate Director of Admissions. I should point out that I've done a fireside chat with Heidi Pickett, the Assistant Dean for their Master's in Finance, who I met some years ago and wrote about this program. This is an amazing program, and the people who get into it are doing exceptionally well, and it's very selective, I might add. So we'll get into that and what makes it distinctive in a moment. Then we have Danny Wall, who is an associate professor of finance, although he teaches a bunch of things, real estate included, from the University of Utah. And Danny's going to talk about their master's in finance. The school also has a master's in information systems and analytics as well. Analytics being so hot. Okay, so Jennifer, I want to go right to you first because you, I think, have the newest program, which is a new master's in analytics. Why now?
Great question. So I will tell you, I think obviously analytics is is kind of a buzzword. It's been a buzzword for a long time in industry, and frankly, we're not new to data analytics or business analytics. I think we've had analytics built into every one of our curriculums for several years, and now recently added it to our undergrad curriculum as well. So the program is new though. So we just actually launched it this fall. We'll have our first cohort next fall. And I think one of the unique things about this program, and I think this was one of the reasons why we actually have launched it, is because we had such a demand in our accounting and finance programs for data analytics in those in those degrees. And so what we are offering, which is fairly unique compared to the industry for a data analytics program, is we have concentrations in that degree. So we have a financial analytics pathway, and we have an accounting analytics pathway in that program, in addition to the general business analytics. So candidates that come in with, already have a strong finance background or a strong accounting background and want to do more of a deep dive in data analytics, our business analytics program is perfect for them, because they're going to get what they would have normally got in an accounting program or a finance program. So that's pretty unique, and we're really excited about that.
And we know that really the underlying reasons for the great demand in these programs is the overwhelming amount of data that's now accessible to businesses, and the need to harness the data to make it effective for decision making.
Right.
And that's really at the root cause of the tremendous growth in data analytics and business analytics degrees. Now, Meredith, you've had one at Weatherhead. What kind of growth have you seen in your business analytics master's program?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we've had ours now. We just entered our 5th year of our business analytics program. And what I really love about this program is, while it's still relatively small in size, we've been able to listen to our students and get feedback from them on what they're experiencing, and as well as what our employers are asking of our students. So where we started with a 1-year program has now become a 1.5 years, and it allows students more freedom and flexibility to discover internship and employment opportunities throughout the program, as well as we increased the curriculum size. So we added more courses to focus in on the areas that are most important to, again, the industry out there that are asking for them, as well as the students seeking this information. And so we've been able to kind of grow and increase our program along with the class size. And even though we find that there's challenges every day, especially with things like COVID in this world, the demand for information and knowledge is still there. And we've brought in the analytics approach into all of our degrees. So for a number of years, we've now had analytics components in all of our master's degrees, from our MBA to our finance and accounting programs, as well, as it is very much needed in today's businesses.
Yeah, really true. And Danny, you have a business analytics degree as well in your portfolio. How popular is it?
It's quite popular, but I will say, like Meredith and Jennifer, we have seen demand for analytics from almost all of our degrees. So we too have integrated analytics into our finance and accounting and other programs. However, the standalone analytics degree is hot right now, and I think it will continue to be hot for quite a while. One unique thing that we're offering, we call it a concurrent degree. So students can actually pursue, say, a finance degree or an accounting degree together with our master's in analytics. And there's a scholarship component to that, so they don't actually have to pay for the full freight for both degrees. So,
right. Let's pan out and get a bigger picture of this market. Katie, why do you think non-MBA master's programs have been sort of the big growth area in graduate management and education in the last 10 years? What's driving that growth, and why has it become such a popular choice for so many students?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen the growth and demand coming from, there's just more need for specialized knowledge, specialized or deeper skill sets in these more analytical and financial ranges of people as they're starting their career path. Certainly at MIT, we really focus on those pre-experience or early career students as they're launching their careers, and the demand for that more technical knowledge coming into the early parts of their career is where we've seen that growth, certainly in the students that are attracted to these specialized masters. We're finding that down the road, they are becoming interested in that more management focused degree further down in their career as they grow into those more leadership oriented roles. But they're building a career as a technical expert inside of all different kinds of organizations.
Now, Katie, you used a word that's often used when we discuss specialty master's degrees, and it's called pre-experience.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is you don't have to have work experience to go and get one of these degrees. I mean, it does vary. There are some specialty master's degrees that do require some work experience, but unlike full-time MBA programs, where the sweet spot is 3 to 5 years of work experience, in many specialty master's degrees, people go directly from undergrad to graduate school. And I think that's an important point to make, because I think that one of the things that's driving the growth of these degrees is the fact that a quarter century ago, most companies had fairly significant training budgets. And they would not have no problem hiring liberal arts grads and training them for 6 months to a year before they got up to speed. In today's world, companies want to hire people who can make a contribution from day one. And I think that trend in the corporate world has really fueled the explosive growth in specialty masters, because you come out of a great college with a geography, a philosophy, or like me, an English or political science degree, and you may find it very difficult to gain meaningful employment at a really significant company. So these specialty master's degrees allow you to get a real quick jump start at a very well-known company and have a meaningful career right from the bat. So that's an important piece of the puzzle, I think. Now, Katie, you have the Masters in Finance program. Yeah. And just to let everyone know, I had done a pre-recorded fireside chat with Heidi Pickett, who's the assistant dean of that program. So we go and do a deep dive on it. But what would you say is the distinctive pieces of that program from MIT?
Sure. I think one of the most distinctive pieces of the curriculum in the MPhil program, and really all of our masters at Sloan, is the flexibility it allows for students to really carve out what it is they want to focus on. Especially in the Masters of Finance, you have a set of prescribed core courses. But like most of our students who pursue the 18-month program, it gives them at least 2 semesters of deep dive into electives. And those can run across Sloan in a variety of different focuses, whether it's capital markets or financial engineering, but also outside of Sloan, being able to cross-register into the Operations Research Center if there's a strong pull into the data science side of finance or into fintech, and being able to collaborate on those academic experiences, but also some of those more professional experiences with students from around the institution. You're not siloed into that MPhil experience. You will have MBA students and postdocs and even undergraduate students that are pursuing that track sort of alongside you at all times, learning and working on projects and even building companies together. I also think the action learning component of the MPhil program, which was renamed recently to be the Finance Lab, will provide students with almost immediate hands-on learning, right? Really ground them in the learning to understand what is very accessible to them and where they want to focus, and be able to try some things on before they go out in the real world, right? We fill our backpacks full of knowledge, and we should learn how to use it, or at least test it out in an environment that's real before we go out into the world. So I really think that ability to customize, but then get your hands, I would say hands dirty with some of the experiential courses are real hallmarks of our program. And then certainly it's MIT, so it's an incredibly rigorous quantitative program that students should be prepared for. And hopefully that's what's attracting them.
Indeed. And when you talk about action learning, experiential learning, we're generally talking about student teams that are given an assignment by a real organization, and then go to work on that assignment with the supervision of a faculty member and perhaps an executive or two in the company. And then you get to present your plan, usually to the executives at the end of that experience.
Yes.
It's pretty daunting. It's real world. You roll up your sleeves and you do the hard work that you would be doing if, in fact, you were an employee or a consultant.
Sure.
It's also a great thing to talk about in a job interview. No doubt. Now, Jennifer, Illinois has a highly acclaimed reputation for accounting. You have a terrific accounting faculty.
Mhm.
I have to say, when I sat down with the former chair of your accounting department, Brooke Elliott, the first time, she almost convinced me to love accounting, which is almost an impossibility. Now, you have an on-campus master's in accounting, of course, and you have the online offering. Tell me how they differ from each other.
So it really goes back to I think Katie's what Katie was talking about in terms of pre-experienced and experienced. So we really look at our residential programs as primarily for candidates who are either coming right out of undergrad or want to switch careers. Now, it's certainly not a hard and fast qualification. We do have people that are experienced in our program, some with 20 years of experience that come into our technology management program and maybe finance. But really our online programs are more for professionals. Obviously they're working. In terms of curriculum, you're getting the same degree. It's an MSA degree, Masters of Science in Accountancy, whether it's online or it's the degree says the exact same thing. It really comes down to the experience that you're looking for. As you know, when you're in a group of people that have had lots of work experience, they bring a lot of that into the conversation. And so it's a little bit more, you're going to get a lot of more practical things from the discussion part of classes that you have in the online space versus those that are in the residential program. Still, there's some opportunities to gain some of that, knowledge, but it's a little bit more rudimentary or elementary in a sense. But in terms of what you're getting, you're being taught by the same professors. You have the same experiences in terms of action learning classes or what we call experiential learning classes, things like that.
Right. And the length, of course, the online program I would think is a little bit longer because it's essentially part-time.
That's correct. It is. That is another difference. Because although we are at a point now where we're trying not to call it part-time, because I tell you, these online students are taking 12 hours a semester, and that's a full-time student course load, if you will.
Maybe
in
I
some
should
cases.
Fully employed student.
And fully employed, exactly. But I think that's also, if you're looking for a little bit more flexible, because you could we stretch that you can get that degree in 2 to 3 years, 24 months to 36 months. And in our accounting or 12 months, you can realistically do it. It's going to be rigorous, but our residential program is a immersive, intensive 12-month program.
Right. Wow. Yep. That's heavy duty.
Yeah.
Now, Danny, you are very familiar with the Masters in Finance program at Utah because I'm assuming you teach in it.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
tell us what makes it distinctive.
So a couple of things. We've talked a lot about experiential learning already, but we have a couple of centers that I think are unique. The Sorensen Center for Impact Investing. Jim Sorensen, one of the godfathers of impact investing, has funded that center. Students get to work on live deals all over the world. And impact investing, as you know, is a hot space right now. It's exciting. It's attractive. A lot of millennials have a strong desire to both make money and have a positive social impact, which is really, really exciting to see. Our program also, like I said before, we do offer a lot of collaborative degrees with the other schools on campus. So you can pursue, a Master of Science in Finance along with a Master of Real Estate Development. There's a reduction in credit hours there, or you can pursue a Master of Science in Finance along with Masters of Business Analytics. And like I said, there's a scholarship component there to significantly reduce that cost. And we do a lot of consulting projects, and it sounds like the stuff that's similar to what's being done at these other fine institutions. I have to say it, one of the things that really makes us stand out is we are 30 to 45 minutes away from seven of the best ski resorts in the world. So I know that's not specific to the finance program, but it is an exciting, frankly, it's a reason why a lot of people come here. So
You must be a downhill skier.
yeah, we're hoping that the resorts stay open this year.
So, Danny, I want to ask you about impact investing in the Sorensen Center. Can you define impact investing for our users? Because, you
Yeah.
know, many of them may not entirely understand what is it. Does it mean that you funnel money into nonprofits? Does it mean that you funnel money into for-profit companies that have a social mission? How do you evaluate those investments? What is social impact investing?
It's a great question, and the best answer I can give, think of it as you know, either venture capital or private equity for companies or organizations that are both, you know, both provide a return to the investor and a significant social impact. So an example that I like to talk about, there was a group of dairy farmers in India who as they tried to get their product to market, they had a, you know, almost a 50% spoilage rate. And so an impact investor would come in and provide the proper equipment. And so all of a sudden, you know, almost 100% of their product is getting to market. They're making more money and they're able to provide a return to the investor while basically building economy in these otherwise, you know, poverty-stricken places.
Now, is that an elective offering within the Masters in Finance, or is that embedded in the programming?
It's actually school-wide. So it's an opportunity that that students from all of our programs can pursue, and it's basically we treat it basically like an internship. So there's no class or credits associated with it, but students leave with a really nice, you know, resume building experience. So.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Meredith, I know Weatherhead, by my count at least, has 7 specialty master's programs. That's if you include the engineering and management one.
Mhm.
But I also know that your Master's in Finance is your largest program.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, in fact, it's the 3rd largest program on the entire Case Western Reserve University campus. So,
Is it really?
yeah, for being a smaller
Okay.
private institution, it's kind of nice to know we have that kind of pull. It's a very popular program. We typically, if you do look up our building, which is really fascinating, I strongly suggest, it's a wonderful design by Frank Gehry. You will notice it's a very strange and unusual building, but we actually don't even have classes that hold more than about 60 to 70 students. So our program typically has about 3 cohorts of about that size to accommodate all the students that are interested in the demand. And in fact, about 2 years ago, we increased from 2 to 3 cohorts. So the rise in demand for our finance program is still growing, and we're happy to accommodate it, but it is the most popular one. I think a lot of it has to do with how flexible the program is. It typically is a 9-month to 2-year program, so it's completely customizable. You have your core set of courses, as most of us will, and then you can choose from 4 different elective tracks to kind of pick and choose either from one full track or variety of each of them and focus on different concentrations such as corporate finance, maybe some risk management analytics or financial big data analytics. So it gives everybody a flavor of really multiple different sides of the financial industry, especially going back to that analytical conversation that we talked about earlier. And so those students that want a little bit of the analytical side, a little bit of the finance side, this is a great program to get you exactly those programming skills and technical skills that you want in a financial setting. And that's probably our most popular track with all of our students today within the program.
And I'm assuming that if you take it full-time on campus, you do it in 9 months. But if you are employed, you can actually take it part-time and stretch it out to the limits of what, 20 months, did you say?
Well, it is a full-time program no matter how long you stretch it out. So it is meant for students straight from undergrad. Those that are interested, who are currently working and are interested in taking our degree, we are actually going to be offering certificates, hopefully starting next year, for students that maybe are interested in earning a certificate in corporate finance or in quantitative finance. So that way they can start taking little bits of our program more on a part-time basis where they can take evening classes. But the core of the program in and of itself is meant for typical non-working professionals in either a 9-month capacity or 2 years. So 2, 3, or 4 semesters. This gives lots of flexibility whether a student is domestic or international, given that STEM program, they can stretch out their time if they're international and take advantage of the extra OPT time period, or a domestic student who typically wants to get in and out rather quickly, which is a huge benefit of the specialty master's degree pathway. So instead of staying 2 years in a typical MBA, they can complete it in 9 months and be able to get in and out with some really good hands-on experience and high caliber education, and get into the workforce just as effectively and efficiently as possible.
Now, is it STEM certified?
Yes, it is. All of our tracks are, and all of our programs, our specialty master's programs are.
Okay, because you mentioned that acronym OPT. Some people
Yes.
may be unfamiliar with it. It's optional practical training.
Yes.
And with a STEM designated program, it allows you to apply for 3 years worth of OPT versus 12 months, which obviously, if you're an international student, could be very helpful to apply that way in a STEM related job. So that's an important element of it all. Now, you also have operations research and supply chain management and business analytics. But you know what I want to do? I want to dive a little bit deeper into who goes to these programs. So let's start with the Masters in Finance. What does that class look like? I mean, percentage of internationals, the gender splits, the average age, where people are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a lot of overlap between all of the programs you've mentioned. We're very international friendly. Anywhere between, some of our programs are about 50% international, upwards of 80 or even 90% international. So we're very international friendly, which means that we have a lot of resources catered especially towards employment opportunities for international students. So we're very familiar with that aspect. We have typically about a 50-50 split of men versus women. And traditionally, the age range for these programs are about 23 years of age. And we, I think like Jennifer mentioned, we've had students come into the program who have had 20, 30 years of worth of experience into our programs and been just as successful in them. So we cater very much to the younger audience as well as all sorts of walks of life. Oh,
Yeah.
the backgrounds, I apologize, also come from a lot of financial backgrounds, business, economics. Economics majors do very well in all 3 programs. We also welcome engineering and mathematics majors, those with very quantitative and technical backgrounds, including statistics, mathematics, computer science, information management. All of those backgrounds are equally welcome in all of the programs that I've mentioned. That quantitative mindset, that problem thinking mindset, those students do very, very well in our programs. We're very open to all walks of backgrounds as well.
Now, Meredith, if I'm a poet, am I going to have a problem in your program, or do you give me a little boot camp to get me adjusted?
We would welcome you in our program. Our finance program is extremely welcome to those with maybe less of a technical background. We will have a what we call a financial orientation class, and that is scheduled quite literally during the time of orientation, where it's like a boot camp, and you will basically be caught up to speed or brought up to speed with the rest of the classmates coming into the cohort that maybe have a better background or more of a background in the financial sector. So those students with more liberal arts or non-STEM, non-business backgrounds are perfectly welcome to apply in the finance program. We definitely will make sure you are successful when you're here.
Okay, and Danny mentioned skiing in Utah. So that, you know what Cleveland has? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum.
Yes, we do.
I would say it's a must visit if you go to Cleveland and you attend Case Western. You'll find yourself wandering over there along the river a good number of times. The museums in Cleveland are fantastic as well, especially the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah, which is free.
Yes, it is free.
For
I've been
everyone.
there, and it's a wonderful museum, really. Now, Katie, what's your
street?
Katie, what's your class profile look like?
Yeah, so our Masters of Finance, or the MFIN, we affectionately call our students, is 120 students in every intake. For the last, I think we're going into our 12th year of intakes. Similar to Meredith, it's a
divided into 2 cohorts.
We do teach most often in cohorts, around 60 students in each cohort. one is just real estate in the classroom, and two, to have some of those deeper dive discussions. It's
Sure.
much more manageable to be in a classroom of 50 or 60 than 120, right? And then our business analytics, the MBAN, is about half that size, with a class size of 60. This class that just sat in August. Both programs highly international, and both programs hovering around the sort of low 40% range for women, and certainly looking at continuing to increase that representation. In terms of background, similar to what Meredith said, we do see majority of our students coming from those traditional STEM backgrounds on the business analytics side, leaning more a little bit deeper into the engineering undergraduate backgrounds, and then on the MPhil side, a little bit deeper into the math, science, and then business. But we're open to all kinds of walks of life, as long as you have that academic sort of groundwork to hit the ground running.
Sure. What's the percentage of international students in your MPhil program?
Yeah, good question. This incoming class was 92% international.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
large, huh?
It is. Yeah, we used to travel the globe. We don't get to so much anymore.
Yeah.
But
And
we used
actually,
to
even
travel
for
around
this
the world.
time when, a lot of students had trouble obtaining student visas or
Mhm.
taking GMAT or GRE tests, which is required for the MPhil, right?
It is required, but we are reviewing applications in all of our programs, including the MPhil and business analytics degree, without test scores. So we'll look more closely than maybe we already were, but maybe a little bit closer at the academic readiness in terms of the courses. But we are reviewing applications at Sloan without test scores this year.
And I should mention that all of MIT this year, because
It
of the
is, yes.
pandemic and a number of reasons,
Yeah.
is test optional essentially. But assuming that, if you apply to a rigorous program like MPhil, you better have in your undergraduate transcript quant courses that are fairly serious, and you should have done very well in them, because admissions are going to have to rely more heavily on your transcript to decide if you can get in and you won't have a problem, because no one wants to have someone who's having difficulty in the program.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair assessment. We will be looking very closely at the depth of the quantitative related courses that students took, sort of going beyond that first layer of classes that an undergraduate degree would have, but also looking again outside of, and how are they using that academic experience in the real world? What other activities have they been, or experiences have they had so far?
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think you also will look at even SAT, ACT, LSAT, and MCAT.
We will, yep.
Well.
Yes, definitely. And if any of students are in the process of pursuing other certifications, CFA, et cetera, they can share those data points with us as well.
Now, Jennifer, is there a difference in the class makeup of the online finance degree versus the on-campus finance degree?
I
mean accounting.
Oh, accounting. Okay, yes. Yes, we have. I think there are certainly probably more domestic students in our online program than there are in our residential, for sure. Our residential is probably 90+% international. I don't know what the percentage is for online, but what we are seeing with the online are a lot of candidates that are, want to switch. They've been a few years out of working, 5-6 years out of work, and realize, I want to, and you can get CPA certified or get the classes for CPA hours by taking the 1 year, 2 year, could be a 2-year program for the MSA program. So a lot of career switchers. But yes, those that haven't pursued a degree in accounting are the ones we're seeing in that program.
Is the profile very different for the master's in finance versus the accounting?
Not really. Obviously, I think it comes down to the backgrounds. I think we see in the accounting program, we see a lot more students that have a quant background, if you will.
Huh.
We have a lot of students coming in with, accounting undergrads, international. But in the MSF program, we see more of a variety of students that maybe could be coming from psychology backgrounds, but have an interest in finance. So very diverse when you look at really both programs, but a lot, I think there's a little less, I don't want to say quantitative focus, because we do, again, for finance programs, we need candidates that have strong quant backgrounds. And if you don't come from that background, the test is what's going to set you apart in the application process. It is required in our program, for at least the MSF program, that you take a GMAT or a GRE.
Right. And on your new MIM cohort online, what does that class look like? How many did you ultimately enroll, and what's the makeup look like?
Yeah, we've got, I think the last count, because our first cohort started in this month.
Right.
Which is great. I think we have just under 200 candidates in that program.
That's a good start.
And the goal is, I think within the year, we hope to be up to about 500 students. Again, those are candidates that are, this year is a little different, first because classes are essentially online, if you will, for those that started the MIM program residential. So we do have some candidates that don't have any experience, that aren't working right now, that are in that MIM, the online program. But in the future cohorts, it's really designed for candidates that have some sort of work experience. And frankly, what we have heard when we launched this program, we're getting a lot of candidates that have a similar profile as an MBA student, our IMBA, who have 15 to 20 years of experience,
Really?
that just
Wow.
want to get a little bit of more management experience to move up or move out. So I think that's what was kind of shocking for us, because we anticipated it would be more early career people.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things we are considering is, how do we look at the MIM in support of the MBA program? In other words, can it be a prerequisite? Can some of those courses transition you into getting an MBA later on in your career? Because, if you're going to get a management degree, you're likely an MBA is in your future, if you want to, to really move up, because that's kind of the industry standard. So we're kind of trying to think outside the box, and how do we, continue to engage these candidates with 15 years of experience that are getting the MIM, and, they could be future MBA candidates.
Sure. So you could do what you do in your IMBA.
Right.
You can make it stackable, right? I mean,
Right.
you complete certain courses and you can apply the credits to an MBA if you decide to go for the MBA, just like Meredith intends to do certificates, I'm assuming stackable programs in your finance offering next year, right? Yeah. It's great. Now, did you attract many international applicants in that first cohort? Because, in Europe, the MIM degree is the preeminent graduate management degree. There's far greater enrollment and interest in MIMs in Europe than there is in actual MBAs. I wonder if you got many Europeans in that program in your first cohort.
We do have a few. I tell you that it's challenging to compete with the European schools. A lot of them, it's free to go for
Yes.
candidates in those countries, right? They get paid to, or it's free to go. You can't compete with that. So I think we have a few. I think we've also enrolled someone from Spain, someone from Ecuador, in our current MSM residential program. So I think we're seeing that there is some value still in the European, in that space, that there is some value to get a US education. But this first cohort was really a lot more domestic than, and I'm not sure how many, we may have a few, but not many from Europe.
Yep. Now, Danny, usually when I visit a campus, the one thing that I like to do more than anything else is to have lunch or to go out for a drink with students. Because that's how you get the real nitty gritty. Now, I obviously can't do that in this panel, but I wondered if I came to your campus and, I did the ski trip And then I came down, we're sitting in front of the fireplace and we're all having a drink together with the students. What are the three things your students are going to tell me about your master's in finance that really resonated with them? That were some three of the really cool things that they'll remember for a long time that really had an impact. What would they be?
That's a really good question. And I'm going to relay what we hear from our students when we solicit that feedback. Uh, one of the one of the things that we hear most is how engaged our faculty are with our students, how much they care, how accessible they are, and really how much time they spend uh, trying to ensure that the students' needs are met and that they're having a good experience. Um, that's and then the other thing, we hear that same thing about our staff. We have an incredibly dedicated staff. You know, we implement things like minimum or excuse me, maximum 24-hour turnaround time on all correspondence, and so our students are well taken care of. And then, you know, a lot of our students, particularly our international students, Utah's not, it's new to a lot of people, even people within the United States. They haven't been here, they don't know much about it. Um, Almost everyone who comes from somewhere else is pleasantly surprised by how much they enjoy it here. And a lot of our students actually stay. We have one of the best economies in the country right now. And I would say, you know, the majority of our students who come from another place end up staying here longer than they expected due to the rich employment opportunities.
And the beauty of the
The
area.
beauty, yeah, the quality of life is phenomenal. It's you know, it's a great place to live. It really is. It's safe. It's beautiful. The weather, you know, we have our winter storms and whatnot, but that's what makes for such great skiing. So Southern Utah is beautiful. There's you know, more than half a dozen national parks that are remarkable within a short drive from our campus. So if you're into outdoor recreation, it's a tough place to beat.
Yep. Now, Katie, what are the three things that your students would single out for me? And don't tell me Fenway Park or the Boston Symphony and John Williams or all those wonderful things about Boston.
Oh, well, let me think then. I always start with Fenway Park. I mean, I would say first and foremost, it's just the community that they're being a part of. There's a real sort of tinkering mindset of the MIT student to want to solve big problems and certainly to do it with the people around you. And so I think they're really bitten by that when they come to campus. The access to faculty is certainly a huge component of this program, being able in the MPhil program, being taught by the likes of Robert Merton or Andrew Lowe, and certainly in the business analytics program, just the partnership with the Operations Research Center and the rest of the MIT focus on data science and analytics, being able to have those faculty sort of in front of your classroom every day, or doing research with them.
People may not know that people may not know that Robert Merton has a Nobel. So it's always
yeah. So Robert Merton, famous for the Nobel Prize winning derivatives pricing model, the Black-Scholes model, is a huge component of the academic, but also I think the professional experience that our students have in the MPhil program. He's in the cafeteria when we are at the cafeteria grabbing coffee. They're incredibly accessible, and we really share the same space together. Yeah.
And there's rowing on the Charles.
Yes, and that may be safe right now because it is a big open space. But yeah, Cambridge is a really unique location. You have Boston right across the river, certainly a major financial hub here in the U.S. And then the entrepreneurial side of being at MIT, I think, is a huge draw, and being able to dabble in fintech and sort of the advances of sort of the new emerging areas of modern finance.
Great. So Meredith, tell me what your students would tell me around, you know, a drink in a bar, the three things that really matter to them when they are in one of your programs.
Oh gosh, only three. Okay, I will try to make this brief. I mean, Cleveland, it's literally the heart of it all. What I absolutely love about it, and I'm a Cleveland native, is everything is accessible. We are a small city, but we have a big heart. And so you're 5 minutes from downtown. So you have a federal trade reserve in Cleveland. You have all types of leading industries here. So there's lots of opportunities without the overcrowdingness that you would get in larger places like New York or San Francisco or Chicago, or places that might just be overly crowded with a lot of other students fighting for the same thing. So because it's a small school, we're a smaller private institution, you really get the small class sizes, the one-on-one personal attention from faculty, such as Katie mentioned as well. So you really get the chance to get really immersed in not just the content of the program, but in the content of the city. So we're very much right in the middle of a cultural epicenter. So I mentioned we're literally across the street from the art museum, which is the #2 rated art museum in the entire country. We have all sorts of sports teams outside metro parks. I cannot think of a more beautiful place except for the snow. I do admit the snow out in Utah is beautiful. But we have all 4 seasons. So you will definitely enjoy, the hot heat, the cold, and all the beautiful changing colors in between. So on a social level, you'll have so much to enjoy. I always joke, if you're ever bored when you're in Cleveland, you're doing something wrong. There's opportunity at every door, and there's lots of chances to find it, and we'll have people to help guide you on the way. And I think the other thing that really helps our students, especially when it comes to what their main goal is, which is getting an education to find employment, is our programs, our finance, analytics, supply chain programs, all have a dedicated director whose sole responsibility is to help you find a job or an internship. So that's kind of unique in some regards, because many schools have one career service to help all types of students. We have an actual individual, as well as the faculty, that seek jobs and employments to alongside our students to make the job prospects a little bit easier. So you really get real one-on-one attention within your own career field and finding the goals and the dreams that you want. So if you want to try working in finance, we've got lots of opportunities, especially if you're international. We know what will work, what won't work. So we'll give you tips and tricks and tools, as a lot of us do, to help make sure this is an easier process for you. And I think all of that experience, the hands-on learning, the experiential learning, more importantly, as well as all the opportunities you have living in Cleveland and then experiencing our country and our world beyond, really will make the experience that you have starting here at Weatherhead a really special one.
Great. And we're going to segue into career outcomes, but I want to first ask Jennifer what her graduates would mention as sort of the standout elements of the different programs you're offering.
Great, thank you. So I would say, similar to Meredith, Champaign is very much what we call a micro-urban community, if you will. So we have big town amenities in a small town atmosphere. I mean, you can drive across town in 10 minutes. And I think one of the biggest things we hear from students about Champaign, its location, is that we're very close to Chicago. So we have a lot of our students that, come from international and have heard of Chicago. And so they travel up on the weekends just to, kind of see what it's like and participate in all that's there. So I think our proximity to Chicago, this micro-urban community, I'd also parallel with what Meredith said about career services. I think that's, we talk often with our students that, we are very focused on career outcomes. We know you're going to get a world-class education here, but your end goal is a job. And so we put a lot of emphasis on the career services. And I think that's what we hear a lot from our students is, developing that network that's going to kind of help them be a lifelong job seeker, if you will. So we provide a lot of support, actually even before they join the program, to get them prepared for the job search, because they're here for a very short time. And I guess the third thing would be, we've got those Midwest values. It's probably a lot like Meredith. We're very family. It's a very family friendly atmosphere. And I think for international candidates who are coming over here for the first time, it can be very, very difficult. And we do a lot to just make them feel at home. And that, I think, is just what's rooted at Illinois and where we're located.
And I've had the opportunity to wander around your strip where all the students gravitate. And I have to say, the amount of exotic restaurants I mean, every possible cuisine you could ever imagine is on that strip. And it's very international. I mean, you
Yeah.
walk down there and you wouldn't know that you're in Champaign, Illinois.
That's right. One of the things I will you're right. The food is what's amazing here, but we were ranked as one of the top places in per capita. We had the most number of restaurants because, you know, we have more restaurants than we have people almost.
meaning permanent residents.
Right.
Since we're talking a little bit about, you know, the careers and their importance, obviously people get specialty master's degrees for a specific purpose, and it's to set them up for their professional career. And I think it's worth mentioning because so many people who go and get a specialty master's, obviously already have an undergraduate degree. Some of them may even have a master's degree in another subject. And what you're going to find in a good business school is this feeling that, you know, their job doesn't end with the courses. Their job doesn't end with the delivery of a piece of parchment. Their job ends when you get a job and you're happy. And that is so different than any other part of academia. So what you experienced in what little support you may have had in your undergraduate years, or even in another master's program, on the job front, on career development, on professional development, you're going to see a world of difference in a good business school, because business school considers that part of the mission that they have. And that's a really distinctive and important difference when you go and get a specialty master's degree in business that you probably will not get. Not might not, you won't get it. You just won't.
Right. You know, yeah.
It's not the way it works. So Jennifer, give us a little sense of some of the career outcomes from people in your different programs. Obviously, if you get a master's in accounting, you're probably headed toward either an accounting job in a corporation or a Big Four accounting firm, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I think for it, but also keep in mind, so our MSF and MSA programs, highly international. You know, outcomes are difficult sometimes to really assess because a lot of those candidates are going back home, and we can't keep track of, we're trying to do a good job in that, but it's hard to get a really good read. Certainly Illinois has a very strong relationship with the Big Four. We have, I think Illinois has the largest number of partners in the Big Four than any other university. And we're so close to Chicago. So we do have a lot of candidates that go up there. So I can't really give you a good estimate on the MSA, MSF, but I will tell you our management programs, 97% placement in our technology management program, STEM designated. Anybody interested in kind of managing technology, which you can come from any background, 97%, it's very high demand. Our MIM program, we have 100% placement. All of those students are placed, and I will tell you, I think it comes down to our undergrad population really supports that effort, because we have, I think last year we had 98% or 99% of our, this past May, 99% of our undergrads had jobs. And so we have all these companies that come and there aren't people to take those jobs. And so these MIM graduates are perfect for those types of roles. And so we've partnered with career services and those companies to kind of feed them, you know, this pipeline of students. So very strong in the management side, and accounting and finance, they're strong as well, but more of them go international.
Great. Now, Katie, do you know what the starting average compensation of an MFin grad at MIT is?
You know, I don't have that in front of me from this last. I'd have to go look it up myself. Sorry.
I'm going to tell you what, I bet you it's in the high 80s or low 90s.
Yes, that would be my target. Would be to guess that it's up. That it's you know.
And we don't like to use the word placement, but let me use the word employment rate.
I know
your employment rate on your MFin grads is like 97, 98% within 3 months.
Yes, and close to 100 when we get sort of 6 months out full-time offer. The MBA is 100% offer at the time of graduation.
And they're not only going into like bulge bracket banks, they're going into every possible finance role.
They
It could
are.
be at Google, it could be at Amazon, it could be at Goldman.
Yes.
I bet a fair number actually go into consulting.
They do. We're really seeing sort of the spread. And that, I think that's just also related to a lot of the research that faculty do at MIT, sort of beyond the traditional markets.
Right. Great. So it's like, you go there, you're golden, man.
You have to put the work in too, right? I think all of us would say
Oh,
it's
of course.
not about, right?
Of course. And Danny, I'm assuming your grads do exceptionally well in the Masters in Finance as well.
They do. Like Meredith was saying, we have dedicated career coaches for every single program and corporate outreach professionals who work in every single program. It's all in-house within the business school, so there's no central career services for our business students. Our MSF students who graduated the last cycle, 95% employment rate within 3 months at a $71,000 average starting salary.
Great.
MSIS was also 95% at 80,000, and MSBA was 93% at 77,000. So,
Danny, I like those numbers.
yeah, like I said, the Utah economy has been very good to us.
Yeah, and I should point out, a lot of people may not know, but a lot of that economy is centered on technology and software.
Yeah, there's a
long time.
Yeah, there's a region here that's now called the Silicon Slopes, and Adobe has a large operation there. Microsoft has an operation there, but it's mostly local tech startups, a very, very robust startup scene here in Utah. And they hire a lot of graduates in finance and non-tech degrees as well. So.
All right. And Meredith, your career outcomes in Cleveland, what do they look like?
So pretty similar to everyone else's, honestly. I do have to restate Jennifer's comments. It is difficult to track some of these students sometimes when they do go back to their countries. So right now, I know for a fact that we have 100% domestic employment by graduation or within the first couple of months after. For our international students, it's a little bit less. It's closer to the 80 to 90% range when you factor them separately. But typically, the ranges of the salary depend, again, not just on the masters that they've chosen, but also the background that they have. So they can typically range between the 70 to 90,000 range. And of course, if you go into larger cities, like taking your degree out into New York or Chicago or LA, you'll definitely find those factors a little bit higher given the living situation. So we're kind of all over the board with that as well.
Fantastic. So here's what we've learned. We've learned that there's a vast portfolio of options available to people who want to pursue a specialty master's degree in business. We've learned that if you go, you'll have a really exciting experience. You'll be shoulder to shoulder with people like you who want to have a more productive, more meaningful, more fulfilled professional life and are really serious about it. And we know that the schools care about where you land and getting a job. And these programs are exceptionally good at helping people land that first job and then giving them the network skills to use throughout their entire career, along with the network to help support and encourage them in every move that they make. So I want to really thank all of you. I had a great time with you. I wish we could have been together in person, but this is the next best thing, as we've learned in these last 6-7 months. So Danny, Katie, Jennifer, and Meredith, thank you so much for your time and for your insights. I really appreciate them.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And for everyone else out there, I want you to know that you can toggle from your Center Court page to our fireside chats. As I mentioned before, I had a chance to speak in a fireside chat with the Assistant Dean of MIT's MFin program. That's on there. We have interviews with alumni from the different schools and programs to talk about their careers and how instrumental the programs were in setting them up to be successful. And we have some chat rooms in there as well. So enjoy.